We live in an invisible cage. You cannot see its bars, yet you feel them every single day. They constrain your choices, limit your freedom, and whisper to you in moments of quiet that you are not enough. This cage is built not of iron or stone, but of something far more powerful. The belief that your worth is measured by your net worth. That your life's value can be reduced to a number in a bank account. Money itself is neutral. It is merely a tool, a medium of exchange. But somewhere along the way, we have given it godlike power over our existence. We wake up anxious about it. We make decisions we despise because of it. We stay in jobs that hollow us out, relationships that diminish us, and cities that exhaust us, all because we are terrified of not having enough. This fear is older than you think. The Stoic philosophers understood it well. Seneca, who was immensely wealthy himself, wrote extensively about the chains that money creates. He recognized that the pursuit of wealth without wisdom becomes an endless treadmill. You acquire something, and instead of feeling satisfied, you immediately begin craving more. The goalpost moves, the finish line recedes. You are always one purchase away from happiness, always one promotion away from peace. This is the trap of lifestyle inflation. Each raise you receive, each bonus that lands in your account, feels like liberation. And for a moment, it is. But then your expenses rise to meet your income. Your apartment becomes nicer. Your car becomes fancier. Your dinners become more elaborate. You start believing that you need these things to be happy. Before long, you have doubled your income and doubled your expenses, and you feel no more free than you did before. You have simply built a bigger, more expensive cage. The cage is invisible because it operates through psychology, not physics. It works through comparison. You look at someone with more money and feel inadequate. You scroll through images of lifestyles you do not lead and feel a gnawing sense of failure. The comparison is endless because there is always someone with more, always someone who appears to have it all figured out. This is the poverty of abundance. You live in a time of unprecedented material wealth, yet you feel desperately poor. What makes this cage so insidious is that we believe we are working toward freedom through money. We tell ourselves that once we have enough, we will finally rest. Once we have achieved financial security, we will be happy. Once we have built our empire, we will have peace. But the goalpost always moves. Enough never arrives. The threshold for security keeps rising, and peace remains perpetually just out of reach. The Stoics understood something crucial that we have largely forgotten. The only true wealth is the wealth of wanting what you already have. Epictetus taught that some things are within your control and some are not. Your paycheck is not entirely within your control. Market conditions are not within your control. Other people's opinions are not within your control. But your desires, your values, how you respond to what you have, these are entirely within your control. This is where freedom begins, not in having more, but in wanting less with intention. Not in scarcity, but in clarity. Freedom comes from understanding the difference between what you need and what you want, between what brings lasting satisfaction and what brings fleeting pleasure. Most of what you think you want was planted in your mind by advertisements, by social media, by consumer culture. Breaking free from the invisible cage requires brutal honesty. You must examine your spending with the same scrutiny a philosopher examines a premise. Why do you buy what you buy? Is it because you genuinely need it? Or because you are trying to fill an emotional void? Is it because you want it? Or because you are afraid of what others will think if you do not have it? Is it because it aligns with your deepest values? Or because it is the path of least resistance? The truth is that money rules you only to the extent that you have given it permission. You have internalized the belief that your net worth reflects your self-worth. You have accepted the premise that more is always better. You have agreed to play a game where the rules are designed so that you can never win. There will always be someone wealthier, always someone with more status, always another goal to chase. Freedom from financial anxiety does not require that you become poor. The Stoics did not advocate for deprivation. Seneca lived well. The point is not to live miserably. The point is to live intentionally, to spend money on what genuinely matters to you, and to refuse to spend it on what does not. To recognize that beyond meeting your basic needs and securing your future, each additional dollar brings diminishing returns to happiness. Consider the person who earns $200,000 a year and feels perpetually anxious. They have a high income, yet high expenses. They have accomplished much, yet feel unfulfilled. Now consider the person who earns $60,000 a year and lives peacefully. They have aligned their spending with their values. They know what they need and what is excess. They are not comparing themselves to those above them because they have stopped playing the comparison game entirely. The cage locks when you believe that your freedom is dependent on external circumstances. It loosens the moment you realize that your freedom is dependent on your mind. You cannot control whether the economy thrives or crashes. You cannot control whether you receive a raise or lose your job. But you can control how much you have committed yourself to needing. You can control whether you view setbacks as catastrophes or as invitations to live more simply. This is the radical power of voluntary simplicity. Not simplicity imposed by circumstance, but simplicity chosen deliberately. When you reduce your expenses intentionally, you reduce your anxiety proportionally. You become less vulnerable to the shocks of life because you have fewer needs to protect. You become more free to make choices based on what you actually want rather than what you feel obligated to pursue. The wealthy often report that beyond a certain point, more money does not bring more happiness. Research consistently shows this. Yet we keep chasing, keep climbing, keep comparing. We have built entire lives around the pursuit of something that, we sense somewhere deep down, does not actually deliver what it promises. We are like prisoners, still trying to unlock the cage with the key that was never meant to work. What if you shifted your relationship with money fundamentally? What if instead of viewing it as the measure of success, you viewed it as a tool for purchasing time? What if you asked yourself, for each expenditure, whether it is worth the time you had to trade to earn it? How many hours of your life is that luxury purchase worth? How many hours of your life is that status symbol worth? When you translate money back into time, the cage becomes very visible indeed. The path out begins with awareness. Notice your anxiety. Notice your comparisons. Notice the moments when you are spending not because you want something, but because you are running from something. Notice the conversations about money and status that drain your energy rather than nourish it. Notice the lifestyle choices that do not actually reflect your values. Then, with the patience and deliberation of a Stoic philosopher, begin making different choices. Start small. Reduce one expense that has been serving no real purpose. Experience the freedom of not having that obligation. Notice that you survive. Flourish even. As this becomes real to you, not just intellectually, but viscerally, you begin to see how much of your cage was constructed from illusions. The goal is not to become ascetic. It is to become free, to spend money on what matters to you, and to stop spending it on what does not. To understand that the richest life is not the most expensive life, but the most intentional one. That the person who has mastered their desires is far wealthier than the person who is enslaved to them.